So yeah, thank you, Jules, for the invitation for this morning. So my name is Pauline Richard. I'm working for Agence LUCIE, and as Jules said, we're managing, let's say, the label for ISIT, and we're glad to have today Benoit, which maybe you can introduce yourself, Benoit.
Yes, hello, my name is Benoit, and I'm working at UCB with my colleague Olesia, that will come later, I think. And we are here to present our sustainability IT journey.
Great. So the presentation will go 4 parts. The first one will be just few numbers on sustainable IT today. So we have a quick overview of the situation. Then I'll present quickly the Lucie agency, or Agence Lucie. So you understand what we're doing, our solutions, and focus on the label. And then UCB Pharma will give a feedback on their labeling process and how they went to get the label. So first of all, few numbers, a few key figures. Sustainable IT today. So tomorrow's organization will be engaged. Well, at least we hope so. We have few numbers to say that. First of all, 70% of organizations are aware that they must be responsible, which is not saying they are responsible, but at least they have the awareness of it. 70% of the 18 to 13 years old put the meaning at work before remuneration, meaning that new talents will also come with expectation from the organizations. And 46% of the consumer are willing to pay more for responsible brands, meaning there are a few issues on inside the organization, but also outside from the new generation, the new talents, and the clients. Some key figures about IT in general. To have a computer at the end, we need more than 800 kilograms of material to only build one computer. So that's huge. And for a smartphone, it's more than 70 kilograms. So that means that we have a huge extraction of material that is necessary for those items. And then concerning the impact, well, IT is responsible for more than 10% of global electricity consumption and for more than 4% of global GHG emissions. So meaning it's almost the same as flights. And then concerning more, let's say, social issues, the internet traffic, well, the numbers are a bit old, but that's just to see, and it's growing even faster today. Internet traffic, have been growing for 63% in between 2016 and 2017. And then we had in 2020 more than 12 billion connected objects in the world, meaning, and this number is also growing a lot. Then if we're taking the digital footprint for one user, so only one person, if you're looking for a year, we have 5,700 kilowatt of primary energy, which is consumed for the digital life, let's say, of equipment. 800 kilograms of greenhouse gases in a year per person. 14, let's say, or almost 14 liters of water. Well, that concerns the production of the items and everything, and then 3 kilograms of electronic waste per person per year. So that's huge. And then in a day at work, we're consuming per person around 51, let's say, bulbs of electricity of lights. It's the equivalent of 29 kilometers in a car with one person in it, so meaning 6,000 kilometers per year. The consumption is equivalent. And then we're consuming per day 7 packs of water of 9 liters, so or the equivalent of one shower. So that's key figures to understand the impacts of IT today. If we're now talking about Agence LUCIE, so a quick overview. We're a small team, as you can see. We're around, well, let's say 22, I think, today, people in the organization. Our role is really to help you go through the process of labelization and to obtain the label. Of course, the particularity is that we're a company, but we're owned 50% by association. And in those associations, we have members of the community that are part of an association and that also having, let's say, a word to say in the strategy we're taking, decision we're taking. Our ecosystem, quickly. So, well, the main partners are on the left side. So having strategic partners, 60 experts in the labeling committee. I'll come back to the labeling committee right after and their role. But just to say that in sustainable IT, we have around 20 experts on that thematic. And then ALURSO is the association I told you about it with the members of the community. And then we have more than 200 consultants, which are independent. In sustainable IT, we have around 25, let's say. Some are in Belgium, some in France, and some in Switzerland, and well, around. But yeah, the idea is that those consultants can help you during the process of labelization to put action in place. And then we have evaluators, or we can say auditors as well. So on sustainability, we're working with Bureau Veritas, SGS, and Baker Tilly that are coming on site to evaluate the maturity level, let's say, of the organization. And then on the right side, you have all experts that are working with us, so international experts, institutional networks, etc. The idea is really to have a large ecosystem and work with the most people we can. A synergy to boost sustainable IT. So just for a quick overview of the label and how it grew. So the first framework been created by ISIT, so Institute for Sustainable IT, let's say 4 years ago, around 4 years ago. And then they went for a tender so they could have like an organization to manage the process around the framework, which we won. So now we're managing the process around. And 2 years ago, we merged with another label that was really specialized in IT services organization. And so we merged to have only one label now. So, well, we had like working groups after this merge to divide now the label in 2 levels, so level 1 and level 2 that I will introduce, and also having a new framework in which we're also addressing special subject for services, IT services, and collectivity communities, public institution. So a focus on our solution. So, well, the idea of Lucie Agency is really to help organization, no matter where they are today, the level of maturity they have today, and no matter where they want to go tomorrow, or the speed they want to engage in those subjects. So first of all, we can, if the organization want to start slowly, we can address, let's say, a self-assessment, a diagnosis that I will send you right after, which help understand the thematics that are inside the framework and understand where we are today on those thematic. So this I can share, or Jules can share after the webinar. We also having a database which is having more than 1,000 good practices, good CSR practices, but which includes also sustainable IT good practices in it. And so this is, so you can go and search for good practices on any subject and put them in place on your organization. Then we also have, if for organization I want to go a bit further than discovering, we have a training center. So we deliver today, well, it's not on date, we deliver today more than 50 trainings, different trainings. Some are in large CSR subject or sustainable IT subject in general. And then we have more precise training, such as, for example, eco-design or accessibility or others like purchasing, sustainable purchasing, and yeah, different subjects. So those are proposed to the members of the community, but to anyone that want to progress on those subjects. And then we got the labels, because we're having few labels. As you can see here, we have labels on CSR in general, labels on biodiversity, on environmental subjects, and on sustainable IT, which is the thematic of the day. So in sustainable IT, we're working on, well, you can see here a quick overview of the framework, we're having 4 main axes. The first one concerns strategy and governance. So the idea is really for the organization that to write an IT strategy, to integrate it in the general strategy of the organization, and then to define the budget, the people that are going to work on this subject, etc., etc. Then second thematic is support for the SIT strategy. So this is more to identify your stakeholders, to identify who you're going to work with, to sensitize them on IT subjects, to make sure that your contents as well are thought the right way. So for example, your website or your presentation, like you have them with a less weight and accessible, etc., etc. And we're working also here on the training subject, so integrating sustainable IT trainings in the training plan of your organization. Then we're having a focus on life cycle. So life cycle concerning equipments, concerning data centers, concerning software, actually. So all subjects that you can find in IT. And here we're going to define your purchasing policy, how you use your different devices, etc., etc., and the end of life. So also, what are you doing with your electronic wastes, for example? Do you manage your datas? Where do you stock them, etc., etc.? And then the last thematic in the general framework is extend your SIT approach. So here is more focused on your impact on the territory, on your territory. Are you working with local association, local suppliers, for example? Are you giving awareness in universities, for example? Well, those large subjects. And then, as I told you, we're having 2 sectoral themes. So one is about digital services company. So here is really focused on the product or services they're giving from outside. So for example, if they're developing websites, do they do it in an thinking way? And then we also have a thematics on public authorities. So meaning here, do they have an impact on their territory? Do they put public policies to encourage organization on the territory to work on those subjects, etc., etc. So here you have to know more button that you be able to click when you'll have the presentation at the end, and you'll have more details on the framework. If we're coming now on the labeling process, as I told you, we're having 2 levels, level 1 and level 2. So the level 1 is for organizations that are, let's say, starting on the subject. So the first action to put in place is to follow the MOOC, the ISIT MOOC, and then you'll have a certificate of knowledge at the end. So you can just to make sure that at least one person understood what is written in the MOOC. Then you'll have a preparation step in which you'll have to identify all documents that you have in your organization and send it to the auditor. So once the contract is signed, the auditor will call you to define the audit date and to explain everything that you need to do before in this preparation step. So you'll have to identify all documents that exist today, put them in one specific place, let's say, and send it to the auditor. So the auditor will be able to prepare the audit. On level 1, the audit is only in half a day. And during this half day, the auditor will look at the document with you, go through the whole framework, and question where you are today. This audit will be done with only the people that are responsible for the process of labelization, let's say, or the IT subjects, and not with the whole organization. And at the end of the audit, the organization needs to have a score upper than 300 on 1,000. So, and if the score is upper, you'll have a recommendation path, let's say, and you'll be able to write down commitments, and the label will be delivered once we'll get the plan of action from your side. So once you give back the plan of action, we'll give you the label. You have the label for 2 years 2 years to put the action plan and the actions in place. And then 2 years after, maximum 2 years after, you'll either renew the level 1 or go to level 2. If you still renew the level 1, you need to have a better score than in the first cycle. And then also you can choose to go to level 2. It's a good transition. So level 2 is a bit more demanding than level 1. First of all, the training. So the training here lasts 3 days. The first 2 days can be either delivered by ISIT, in concerning really like sustainable IT issues, or we also have the same training. And then the third day will be really focused on the process of labelization. So all steps you need to go through to get the label and then to keep it as well. Once the training is done, you'll go in the self-assessment part. So the self-assessment part here, you'll have to do working groups with the people that have the information, and which is not the same person depending on the subject. For example, you have one subject on training, one subject on purchasing, etc., etc. And the idea is here is really to identify all documents and where you are today on all subjects to structure and to prepare the initial audits. In this self-assessment lasts, let's say, around in between 6 and 9 months to really like, well, depending the size of your organization, but to really have everyone participating in this subject. And then you'll have initial audits, which in level 2 will be done by external auditors. In level 1, it's a LUCIE auditor. And here you'll have external auditor that will come on site to interview a representative panel of the employees and also external stakeholders. So for example, a client, a supplier, etc., etc. The idea is really to have a large overview of all that you're doing in your organization and give you a feedback, like a report, in which you'll have to get that time a score upper than 500 on 1000. So 300 on level 1 and 500 on level 2. And according to this report, you'll have also to make commitments. So to write down a plan of action, as well as in level 1. The big difference here is that your plan of action will be assessed, let's say, by a labeling committee, so external experts in sustainable IT that would look at your plan of action, make sure that it corresponds to what the auditor saw on site during the initial audit. And if it does, you get the label for 3 years at the time, so 2 years in level 1 and 3 years in level 2, 2 years to put all action in place. And then you'll have a follow-up audit at midterm, so 18 months, a year and a half, in which the auditor will come back on site to make sure that at that date, all action that you engaged are put in place. And then 3 years after, you have to renew the label with a context, internal and external, from your organization that will have changed. So the idea is that you're writing down a new plan of action and continue to progress on those different subjects. That's it for the process of labelization, and then we'll have a feedback anyway from UCB on this level to process, and you'll be able to ask your question at the end. So here you have a board with the difference in between level 1 and level 2 that you can look after it. We also have another process, let's say, which is for organizations that need to be assisted or helped by experts. And so this is to take your time to structure your actions and to put action in place before going to the label. That means that you're not even at 300 and you want to like structure before it. So here you can choose to go through the self-assessments with the support from an expert. So you'll do the training, the 3-day trainings I told you about, and you'll have here 1 year to do the self-assessment with 3 half days of assistance, let's say, from an expert, of support from an expert to structure your action and to decide, well, 2 years after it, if you want to go to level 1 or level 2. Okay, and then to finish, any label and any engagement that you're doing with us you will integrate the community. Today we have more than 1,200 organizations in the community engaged either in CSR or sustainable IT or biodiversity, etc. that I told you about. And the idea is that we animate this community, so you'll have different benefits in engaging in the community, benefits in between members. So members can work together to, like, for example, give a reduction on their offers, etc., to other members. You have access to tools. So, for example, the platform in which you'll follow your process and your labelization. You have Lucifer, which is the database with good practices. You'll have access to it, and other tools that are given. You have reduction on the training center, so you can also train your employees on different subjects. You'll have a shared communication in between Agence Lucie and you, so shared logo, let people know that you're labeled, that you're working on those subjects, etc. And events, which is for me the most important part on the benefits. So you'll have, let's say, animation of the community. So once or twice a month in webinars, you have webinars on different subjects to present CSR subjects, including sustainable IT. And then once once every 3 months, you'll have an on-site animation, so you can also meet the different people in the different organization in the community to exchange good practices, to share tools, etc., etc. And that's it for me. And now I give the floor to UCB and to Benoit, I guess. Just Benoit, let me know when I need to change the slides.
Yeah, I think that we will begin with Olesia, and you can begin the slide directly.
Hi guys, my name is Alicia Shershin, and I'm working together with Benoit, and I see here in the call also a couple of my colleagues and enthusiasts of IT for the Planet community. So we were recently labeled with INR label, I would say. We recently received this honorable, I would say, sign of recognition. So let us share our experience in the next 15 minutes. So Benoit, please. Shoot to the next slide. Myself, I work, next one, please. Myself, I'm working in IT finance, and Benoit is working in digital labs of UCB. So we're coming from quite diverse domains, but we united with one passion, which is delivering value to the planet, to the patient, and to the society. So a couple of words about UCB Biopharma. So it's an international biopharma company with an operation now in 36 countries, but we are expanding. You see our revenue on the screen. We're mostly focusing on delivering value to the patients that have severe disease in immunology, neurology, and rare disease. So now, for example, one of the most popular drugs is Zyrtec. It's helping people living with allergies. Then on the screen, you see also Fintepla and Bimzelx. These are they are circled. So those are two innovative treatments. One of them is for psoriasis, and one of them is for rare form of the epilepsy of the children, which is called Lennox-Gastaut, which is called Dravet syndrome. You see also that we have 8,000 of employees, and that we already have certain ESG ratings marked on the screen. So our company actually prepares not just annual report, but integrated annual report for already some years, meaning that we reflect not only on financial, but also extra financial KPIs. Maybe we can go to the next slide, Benoit, and I can explain a little bit better. So basically, sustainability is not just the part of the strategy of our organization, but it's in the DNA, and it's the way we execute our business. So basically, UCB is focused on two sustainable development goals. It's goal number 3 and goal number 17. So improving the health of the population of the planet. And then the other point is collaboration for the innovations. So here you see on the screen with UCB, we actually defined certain materiality aspects on which we wanted to reflect and certain KPIs that we want to focus on. On the screen, you see the 6 main sustainability pillars for which we have separate teams dedicated to work in. So one of them, for example, is diversity, equity, inclusion. So here we have part of the talents team, which helps to to our colleagues to thrive, and also ensure that, for example, for clinical trials, we have diverse set of patients that takes part in the medical experiments. Here, as IT for diversity, equity, and inclusion, we ensure that all of our colleagues have equal access to IT devices so that they can thrive and they can execute on their day-to-day activities. So, for example, the screens with special resolutions and things like that. Employee health, safety, and well-being. With this pillar, we ensure that the number of incidents per site is minimized, and also for colleagues who have limited abilities to walk or to move, we have all the facilities that allow them to manage their mobility, I would say. Access to the medicine. Here, as IT, well, normally here we reflect on how many patients have access to our medications, and we try to improve this particular picture. And as IT here, we provide our colleagues with the technical support, meaning that we build up the dashboards, the reports there, we build up the data foundation that allow to measure our journey in that direction. Ethical business practices. Here we're speaking about the our code of conduct, ethical behaviors, also the way we collaborate with doctors. Speaking of sustainable IT, for example, we're also raising awareness on the subject within our vendors and customers. Again, our customers is our doctors. And by the way, thanks for the sustainable IT program and trainings by Agence LUCIE and the auditors. We collaborated with some doctors, and we will have presentations in some hospitals in the future. Then you have scientific innovation on the screen, and there, with that subject, Benoit is a little bit more engaged than me because I'm more in traditional IT, I would say finance, and Benoit is working with labs. So there, for example, we collaborated with Microsoft on certain projects which helped us to work on the drug discovery, or for example, during the COVID, we worked on the certain experiments related to the COVID tests. And then you see one of the aspects is covered, one of the pillars is circled with green, it's half of the planet, and that's where us, as IT, we think we can create the biggest value and the biggest impact and the biggest change, and that's why we are actively participating in that. So basically here we measure three aspects: CO2 emissions, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, water and waste. And so here we have a separate team at UCB called Health of the Planet. And we as IT contribute to that team as enthusiasts on the top of our job. So we have a team of dedicated IT members, which is called IT for the Planet. And with that, I would like to hand over to Bina. Well, he will provide some more details on our small but very active community.
Can go next slide.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. So to give you a little more context, we have a global IT that's represented by around 260 employees. And like Olesya mentioned, we are part of the Health of the Planet pillars. And to fulfill the engagement to reduce the CO2 emissions, we have created IT for the Planet groups based on 10 employees. And we are coming from a multidisciplinary team. So like Olesya mentioned just before, we are coming from IT finance, IT labs, IT developments area. And there is a lot of different topics that we can cover like this. And this is really a job that we are doing on top of our day-to-day activities. And this is work because we are passionate about making change a reality and about ensuring that the patient value we bring is also sustainable. To cover all the topics, we have 3 pillars. The first one is the green life cycle management. For example, thanks to ISIT, we are partnered with Brussels Circular Economy, and this is to give second life to our devices that we are not used anymore at UCB. We have also collaboration and computing, where we are partnered with Microsoft, for example, for the cloud, and we have also an immersive meeting room to reduce the flights. And the last one is the procurement pillars, where we are selecting vendors very carefully based on the tools EcoVadis to cover the CO2 reduction objective. And IT for the Planet, this is really to cover the green IT aspect, to reduce the environmental footprint at the IT department level. But there is also the IT for green, which put digital at the service of sustainable development and the responsible design of digital services. Can go next slide. Thank you. So here you have really the program design to action, the journey that we have at the IT Planet group. So the team has been created in Q2 2021. And you have two major milestones, the go live and the increasing maturity. The go live one is for that was where we have put a focus on internal. This is where we have created partnership. We have done some communication. We have accelerated the change management about the sustainability. And based on that, we signed the ISIT charter in November 2022. And that's really the step where we begin with the increasing maturity. And here, this is more a focus on external activities where we have sustainable IT label certification. We have a bigger strategy, an expansion strategy, and this is where we are today. So in June 2023, this is really recently, we have received the Sustainable IT label from Agence LUCIE. And everything was possible because thanks to the labelization process, we have conscience that we are working in a sustainable fashion since a long time. And it's the reason why best practices in IT has been easily adopted. Can go next slide. Please, thank you. So here, this is really about the certification and the lessons learned that we took during the process. So some of them, that was, for example, the first one, during the audit process, we need to really take care about the time that we need to allocate to every stakeholders and engagement during the audit. This is really important to not underestimate this part. This is also important for us to say that we need, it's better to start with a formal policy and a dashboard. Like this, we have a really good start for future steps with the labels. What we can also say is that in our case, the scope was not only linked to our IT department, that was broader. And sometimes it's also that was more difficult to take information outside IT. And that's the reason why we have also discovered that the scope is IT for green and green for IT. This is really broader that we have imagined at the beginning. And this is a good lesson for us. And with a strong team and engagement of everyone, this is really possible to reduce the timelines proposed at the beginning. It's not easy, but it's possible. You can go next, and I let Olesha continue.
Thank you, Benoit. Thanks for sharing. So now speaking about our INR label experience. So we spoke about lessons learned, but also why we wanted to go there, why we wanted to get certified, and what will be our next steps and what's our further ambition. Because basically getting certified is just the beginning of our journey. So first of all, we wanted, the most critical for us was to learn from the peers, to learn from the experts, to go through all of those trainings that we had access to gain the experience on the best practices as well. So that's what we did. That was our ambition, to learn and then to move forward with that. Then the other point why we wanted to also go through the labelization, what will be our next steps, is basically to collaborate also with the peers, to join this I would say very knowledgeable community of other organizations that are already there. And we actually had a couple of calls with those companies to understand how they are managing their sustainable IT strategy, let's say like this. So that's also one of the points that helped us to make this choice and go through the certification. And that's also something that we're going to take into account in the future for our further on strategy towards being more sustainable. Then you see on the screen, there's also strengthen our supply chain there during the labelization process, during audit as well. We again reconnected to our vendors. We brought some additional knowledge there, and also they provided some of the highlights of what they are doing towards the sustainability in the future. We shared experience and indeed reconnected. I would like to highlight as well that when we passed the audit, it was just the beginning milestone for us. Further on, we drafted a lot of new commitments, and we at least know where exactly we will move in the future, meaning that we drafted the plans which we will follow, including the, for example, certain dashboards and reports that will help us to assess the emissions levels, the waste, the reconnection, the number of reconnections with vendors, also relationships with vendors. So all of that took place thanks to labelization. Initially, we had certain reports, but now just absolutely other level. You see on the screen, I also put there we put there this sentence related to recognition of the great work already achieved. Yeah, we already started our sustainability journey, as I mentioned before. We did want it to be recognized as sustainable IT. We wanted to we also wanted our stakeholders to see what exactly we are doing there as our small community IT for the planet, also that what we are doing as UCB, and we also wanted to bring this knowledge not only within the internal organization, explaining to everyone what we are doing, but also outside of organization. As I mentioned, we spoke to the doctors, we also spoke to the vendors. We wanted to I would say, expand our influence as sustainable IT outside of organization and inside of organization. So, for example, we reconnected with strategy department as well. And yeah, basically, we got very closely engaged with external and internal stakeholders, and that helped us to, I would say, build a stronger commitment and establish this stronger commitment towards the goals that we set up for the future, for the next 18 months to improve. And that's thanks to INR label. Let's go further, huh? That's it. I also wanted to say one more sentence before we close this and before we open up for the questions. This labelization won't be possible without our team. So it's thanks to our colleagues and working together in synergies that we get there. Again, it's only beginning of our journey, and the best things are still to come. The most interesting. That's it. Questions?
Well, thank you, Alicia, for this feedback and this testimony. And yeah, if ever you have any questions, I put my camera on.
I have a couple of ones, if I may, to the UCB team. You talked about IT for the planet team, but could you explain a bit more how the organization is really within IT, and also how is the CXO team involved, committed? So a bit broader, how the organization is really flowing within the whole UCB organization. Because I saw there are 10 members, but yeah, how were they chosen, and how is it also really pushed forward on a C level?
Well, so okay, let's go.
Benoit, if you want, you can explain this one.
No, but that was basically on the slide of that Olesia explained at the beginning. You have multiple pillars inside the company, global company, and one of them was Health of the Planet. And Health of the Planet is really it's where we have a dedicated team for green aspect at UCB. And based on this team, we have done a focus on IT specifically. And the team has been created at the origin to say, okay, perhaps we can do something inside the green team to have a focus on IT aspects, and that's where we create the team, and the people has been chosen based on multidisciplinary, because we don't want to have a dedicated team only focus on that. We we are thinking that we can have, we will be stronger with multidisciplinary people. For example, on the finance, we have Olesia, myself, this is more on the laboratory area. We have also people from infrastructure area also for the servers, etc. So we try to cover all the aspects of IT. And when we have everyone from IT, we can put a focus together inside sustainability aspect.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can adjust a little bit. Anthony, I can adjust for you a little bit. So basically at UCB, we have sustainability department that focuses fully on sustainability. Then we have 6 pillars, which are departments within the other pillars of organization. So for example, we have IT for the planet. That team of 3 people sits within supply chain. They are connected to sustainability. Us, IT for the planet, we are ambassadors. So we are basically champions of sustainability and organization. We are not, that's not in our, I would say, normal job, I would say. So Benoit, he's working in IT labs. I'm working in IT finance, delivering value to the finance. So what we do for IT for the planet, we're not really the department, we're the community of people who are passionate in IT by bringing sustainability there. So we all are there, not really, we are selected, but basically we are volunteering there. Hope it helps.
No, it's understood. To me, it's really understanding if it's also really visual on a board level. If is your progress really shown on there, and are they really also committed and giving you the means to act? Because it's nice to report, but it's also giving you the tools and means to also act on what you're bringing. So is it really, and that's why to me it's important to understand how it's on a board level or C-level really taking serious and also the type of KPIs that you're also presenting there on a board level. Do you report every X month on that? Is it then also taking into the strategy for the next year and also on a CIO level? Or all the projects more or less taking those aspects into account? That's a couple of things that I wanted to get out of this question, more or less. But
and this is really what we are doing, and we know that we need to progress on that topic because we are quite young. This is just in 2021, and yes, we have a dashboard. We are doing reporting, and now we are doing reporting first for us, but now we are also reporting for the CEO board, and this is where we need to improve our maturity to have a better policy, and this is so. For example, with the label, when we get the certification of the label, we have directly received all comments from the top management to say, okay, this is really a great job, and we need to progress on that. And they have decided. I've heard recently that they have decided that the group IT for the planet need to be also part of the objective of the board. So that means that we are not a hiding group just doing some stuff alone on our side, but we are really committed. We are really recognized, and this is really a leverage for the IT focus part. And there is also the other stuff in UCB for the green aspect that are already taken care by specific teams. But here we are focused on IT only.
Okay, clear. And just maybe a last question, and then I leave maybe to others. Were you able already in this period also to identify for UCB what the percentages of the footprint of IT compared to the total organization?
Yeah, that's quite difficult. Here we have decided that the focus was set on Belgium. So we have not decided to have a label for overall UCB. This is really a focus on IT for the planet, but this is only for UCB Belgium IT. And so no, we don't have. I don't think that. You can confirm Olesia or not, but I don't think that we have a global footprint KPI for the moment in terms of IT. Overall IT.
Yeah, indeed. Basically, we have an overall goal for the CO2 footprint. We have our beautiful goal for 2030, but particularly for IT, we don't really separate it from our global goal. Again, we started with labelization only in Belgium. We would like to expand hopefully in the future. We have big ambitions, but at the moment we don't really measure what's the percentage of IT related emissions in comparison with global organization emissions.
Okay, thanks.
But that's a good that's a good idea.
Any other questions?
Yeah, it's better I ask the question than writing it. Thanks a lot for your testimony. I'm Karim. I'm consultant in sustainable IT, and also I'm part of the expert committee for Agence LUCIE. My question is more general, related to your project, your labelization, and somehow the payback of it. Have you started, thanks again to the action plan, have you started seeing some payback out of it? It's somehow related to the previous question, although you did not measure yet the IT footprint, carbon footprint, but have you seen some action related to the reduction of purchase or the extension of maintenance or whatever you have in your action plan that concretely took place?
First, I think that we can say that during the process of labelization, we have understood that we are better that we think at the beginning, because we have discovered that the IT sustainable labelization process covers a lot of different topics. This is really broader than only just at the beginning. I can say an example. IT sustainability, people are thinking that, okay, this is just a screen somewhere on the meeting rooms. It's always on. This is not good, and we need to turn it off. And thanks also, we already have some ideas, but thanks also to the labelization process, we have some knowledge about, yes, okay, this is good for the screen, okay, but there is also, for example, you need to take care about disabilities of peoples, and this is an area where we recognize that UCB is really strong. For example, we have a specific PowerPoint that need to take care about color blindness. We need to take care about some disabilities to help people to work correctly at UCB. And this is area that we are not thinking at the beginning to say, okay, this is related to IT sustainability. And yeah, go
no, sorry, I was, if you allow, I'll just add in the end. Sorry for
no, it's okay.
So basically, indeed, initially we looked at our sustainable IT small team, IT for the planet. And if you hear it, IT for the planet, we focused really mostly on the ecological footprint, I would say. And we didn't look into details at the rest of activities that we do within the sustainable IT, I would say. And indeed, speaking of equal access for all the employees, it's not only about the color blindness, it's also, for example, some of the colleagues, we had one colleague who had limited ability to hear, and our IT team integrated her listening device to the team directly, so that signal with Wi-Fi would go directly there to the device. And there are a lot of other activities that we highlighted during the audit preparation. Again, we engaged with many other stakeholders, including the strategy team, and we also engaged our board member. So we brought a lot of visibility there, and for ourselves as well, to understand what exactly we do else there. And then actually also the trainings of Agence LUCIE helped us a lot to understand what else we can do on the top of that, I would say.
Yeah, and to just add something like congratulations then you just had the label like 2 weeks ago, I think, or something like that. So the plan of action is not done for now. The main part now was just to structure and to identify what is all that is done on the organization before now starting to put the action in place. So yeah, congrats and good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank
There
you.
was another question in the chat from Thomas earlier, and the question was, wait, sorry, can you share information about costs and expected return on investment? So on the cost side, I do think the numbers are on the website of the label,
Yes.
so you can have access to the costs. But yeah, expected return on investment, I don't know who wants to take that one.
This is super complicated to calculate. Depends a lot of different subjects, but just so about the prices, you'll have it in the presentation. I've put an annex in which you have the prices, and then if you want to have more details, we can talk later on your particular organization. Concerning return on investment, it's particular because depending on the size of the organization, the level of maturity you have today compared to tomorrow, etc., it's really complicated to say it like this. But then we're having a tool, let's say, that helps you calculate your return on investment in CSR in general. So if you put, for example, this action in place for reducing electricity consumption, then you'll calculate it like pretty quickly. But this tool also helps you to calculate the return on investment on social issues. So for example, your employees are more motivated and they stay longer in your organization, etc., etc. So I'll say that return on investment on CSR subjects, sustainable subject in general, is more a vision of calculating return in a more long term. So yeah, difficult to say, but we have a tool to calculate it.
Yeah, I'm putting something in the chat as well because there's return of investment. Pauline, I hope you don't mind if I will add something on top to that. There are some clear points related to return on investment. Again, it's reduction of CO2 emissions related, for example, to the reduction of usage of electricity, etc. But that's also, there's one point related to possible cost avoidance, and that's related to all the regulatory requirements that are coming now. So all the KPIs that organizations are committed to, it's depending on the country and on the market, those are different, but there are more and more coming and you need to be compliant to that. So therefore that aspect can be also considered.